Thank you very, very much for coming today, and I'd like to thank my council colleagues, and I know there are elected officials from the provincial government and the federal government with us today, and we welcome all of you. Today I'm very pleased to talk about the results of some dedicated work done over the last few months to deliver light rail to the people of Ottawa. Je suis très heureux de pouvoir parler aujourd'hui des résultats du travail sérieux que nous avons accompli au cours des derniers mois afin d'assurer la réalisation du projet de train léger ici à Ottawa. Putting Ottawa on a financial and stable footing has been a key priority for me and our council colleagues since we were first elected 8 months ago. This meant ending the excessive property tax and transit fare increases that taxpayers had faced in recent years. We set a new course during Budget 2011 that holds tax increases to 2.5% or less. This also ensured our ability to invest in the infrastructure this city needs where it makes the most sense. Now, we have a good plan, and if we stick to it through the budgets this term, we'll have delivered on the predictable, prudent, and responsible city government people voted for last October. An important part of that plan is the ongoing review of affordability of our capital budget and spending plans that the city has built up over time. I came to office with a commitment to finally make light rail happen after too many delays and false starts. And I'm determined, working collaboratively with my council colleagues, to deliver light rail in a financially sustainable way. Je suis entré en fonction en prenant l'engagement d'assurer le succès du projet de train léger qui a été marqué par de trop nombreuses hésitations. Mes collègues du Conseil et moi sommes déterminés à réaliser le train léger. To ensure this project would be affordable and managed tightly, I asked for 2 reviews. First, during Budget 2011, we initiated a detailed review of the capital and operating budgets for providing public transit in Ottawa. Were our plans affordable into the future? Would we have the money to operate the expanded system we plan to build? Would this new infrastructure continue to serve our residents for the rest of the first half of this new century? I wanted to be satisfied that our plans were realistic and they were affordable. I wanted assurances that we could build everything we planned and operate everything we planned without exorbitant fare increases and within the capital budget for public transit in our city. Now, I set a fiscally prudent challenge. Live within the transit levy and adhere to our tax target of 2.5%. Keep fare increases at no more than a 2.5% annual increase, and assume no growth in provincial or federal gas tax revenue. Although to my provincial and federal colleagues, we would dearly love to have increases in provincial and federal gas tax. This challenge was also informed by my commitment that the development community be expected to pay its fair share. Now, our city treasurer, assisted by PricewaterhouseCoopers, OC Transpo, Infrastructure Services, as well as Planning and Growth Management, have mapped all transit spending over the next 38 years and put forward this information in a report that is being released as we speak. This is the most comprehensive look at the financial sustainability of Ottawa's public transit in our city's history. These projections cover new investment, expected bus life cycle, renewal of assets, and projecting operating hours for buses and trains along with the impact of increasing population and ridership. This study and our treasurer are crystal clear. We have the ability to fund our plans for this phase of the Ottawa Light Rail Transit Project and through the other phases of bus and rail improvements as part of the Transportation Master Plan. We are planning ahead responsibly now, and the operating model we have established not only makes sense, but is financially sustainable into the foreseeable future. Cette étude et notre directeur des finances sont formels sur ce point. Nous avons la capacité de financer nos plans pour cette phase du projet de train léger et de financer les autres étapes de l'amélioration de réseau prévues par le plan directeur des transports. We will also be positioned so that when the provincial or federal governments are able to provide additional infrastructure funds, we are ready to secure our fair share. This study shows that our plans for public transit are affordable and are prudent. In fact, the move to light rail is a key part of establishing a financially sustainable and efficient transit system. At the moment, we have a downtown transit bottleneck that is slowing trips and will strangle the bus system over time if it's not fixed. Moving ahead with light rail saves money when measured against the alternative of attempting to push more buses through the downtown while we greatly increase capacity to accommodate the projected ridership increases. For the second review, I asked for a reassessment from the ground up of the plans approved by the previous council on light rail with an eye to reducing risk and ensuring that we in fact meet the budget. These large projects are prone to growing price tags. I gave clear direction that every light rail assumption should be examined, again, for budget implications. The project needs to work within the original budget set. I specifically asked that we revisit the so-called cross-country route. This deep dive tunnel below the foundations of very large buildings like the Sun Life Building and World Exchange Plaza is an expensive proposition with all the risks inherent in gauging the conditions at that depth. As design review progressed, it became clear that the costs of this deep dive approach would have exceeded the proposed budget. Some members of council, including Peter Clark, expressed serious concerns with the deep tunnel proposal. Councillor Clark specifically suggested that council consider a shallower route under a city street for several reasons, including depth. It also became apparent that private bidders would not deliver a truly fixed price contract to construct this light rail project when it included a deep dive tunnel. We had to, quite frankly, find a better way. À mesure que l'examen du projet progressait, il est apparu évident que le coût de cette démarche aurait dépassé le budget proposé. Il est aussi évident que les entreprises privées n'offrirent pas un véritable contrat à prix fixe pour le projet de train léger s'il prévoit un tunnel profond. The engineering teams have worked very hard over the last few months, rethinking assumptions and defining a better rail system that can be built within the original budget. And I'm very proud to tell you today that there is a better, more affordable, and more reliable way to build light rail. The key improvement of all this hard work is a new and improved alignment of the downtown tunnel. Et je suis très fier de pouvoir vous dire aujourd'hui qu'il existe une meilleure façon, plus abordable et plus fiable de construire le réseau de trains légers. La principale amélioration qui résultera de tout ce travail concerne un tracé nouveau et amélioré pour le tunnel de centre de ville. The new alignment, for the most part, will follow the Queen and Rideau Street right-of-way through the downtown, avoiding the need for deep tunneling under buildings and limiting the amount of dollars required for obtaining subterranean rights. And there will be much more information available to bidders than geotechnical drilling on the deep tunnel could ever have provided. When you're between the foundations of deeper buildings along an alignment that has already been extensively excavated, the information available is significantly increased and the risk is dramatically reduced. This is how Vancouver's Canada Line was able to achieve a fixed price in the end. A more practical tunnel route closer to the surface with reduced risk will improve cost certainty significantly. The stations and tunnel downtown will now be more customer-friendly and less expensive to build. Instead of waiting for a tunnel boring machine that can take a year to order and assemble, construction firms can now choose from a much wider range of mining and excavation techniques. Estimators can pin down prices with more precision. Each station will be less costly to excavate. Each will also be less expensive to operate with fewer concourses, elevators, and escalators. The plan released today has a new alignment and approach to the tunnel in the downtown core that makes a lot of sense. The resulting product is a significant improvement compared to the previous plan, and overall the tunnel will be less than half the depth of the previous alignment. Just behind me are samples of exactly the change that we're proposing. Instead of having to go down 12 stories to access the platform, riders will only have to descend 4 stories. Just as importantly, each station will take half as long to descend into from the surface to the platform. Le plan rendu au public aujourd'hui prévoit un nouveau tracé et une nouvelle démarche beaucoup plus rationnelle pour le tunnel du centre-ville. Le produit ainsi obtenu constitue une grande amélioration par rapport au plan antérieur. Au lieu d'avoir à descendre 12 étages pour accéder au coin, les passagers n'auront qu'une descendre 4. The feeling will be much less subterranean, with more potential access to natural light and a better rider experience. Dissatisfaction with the depth of the stations was the #1 complaint we got back from public consultations and discussions with public advocacy groups. The system will be better linked into the existing network of underground building concourses throughout the downtown. With the previous approach, we would have been far below existing basements and unable to tie in as many buildings without prohibitive costs. This change and some exciting designs for this new solution are all outlined in the project cost and design update. I will encourage everyone who has an interest in this project to please visit our project website, ottawalightrail.ca, and take a first-hand look at the report for themselves. As you know, we have already accelerated the project by 1 full year for completion in 2018. This is great news for 2 reasons. Our residents will be riding the new system sooner than expected, and we will save the city 1 year's worth of inflation costs. So today, let me share some very good news with you and the residents of Ottawa. I am pleased to report that with all of these improvements, the light rail project remains at its budget of $2.1 billion. Ottawa needs light rail, and we now have plans that match our needs. In other words, we're cutting the soup to fit the cloth. The report released today shows that high-quality light rail transit service can be delivered within the budget envelope that was set out. J'ai donc de très bonnes nouvelles à vous à communiquer ainsi qu'aux résidents d'Ottawa aujourd'hui. Je suis heureux d'annoncer que même avec toutes ces améliorations, le budget de projet de train léger demeure à 2,1 milliards de dollars. And this price tag includes inflation person hours of employment and over $3 billion in related economic activity during the construction period alone, at a time when the federal government is downsizing and this city needs a boost. This first phase of light rail will reduce greenhouse gases in our city by at least 38,000 tons a year, reduce fuel consumption by 10 million liters a year, and eliminate 5,600 tons of salt per year from our winter maintenance program. The new system, with its 3-minute and 15-second service, interlinked with our expansion of O-Train service to 8-minute frequency, will make a huge difference to connect our universities, providing 18-minute connection campus to campus. Students will be easily able to take courses at our 2 excellent universities or use the libraries at either without concern for parking and without needing a car. This will help our city gain an advantage as we strive to reinforce the appeal of the nation's capital as an international education destination. And thanks to LRT, people with wheelchairs or mobility problems will gain a new level of freedom. Instead of having to make scheduled appointments to move around between shopping centers, for instance, people can freely move between the World Exchange Plaza, the Rideau Center, the Saint Laurent Shopping Center, Gloucester Center, and with the O-Train, South Keys Center in the south. Business people will be able to walk into a climate-controlled light rail connected to buildings throughout the downtown and go from the west end or the east end of downtown to the market for a luncheon appointment. And we will finally have solved the bottleneck of our transitway that currently has a negative impact on our entire system on Albert and Slater. Nous allons enfin éliminer le problème du transitway le long des rues Albert et Slater, qui a des répercussions sur l'ensemble de la réseau. Consistent with council direction, we have also been negotiating with Infrastructure Ontario to lead the procurement process for this project. Infrastructure Ontario is a provincial crown corporation with extensive experience in ensuring strong competitions that produce best value for taxpayers. The city and council will be in charge, but the clout and experience of Infrastructure Ontario in dealing with public-private partnerships will be a tremendous asset. Infrastructure Ontario has an exceptional record of ensuring major infrastructure projects stay on time and on budget, experience that will provide tremendous value to our existing project team. As you may recall, including Infrastructure Ontario in the procurement process was a key campaign commitment I made in last year's election. And just last week, we released the Request for Qualifications, or the RFQ document, and to date, 71 companies have accessed the information, a good sign of how competitive this tender will be. In fact, we will ask bidders for proposals starting at the end of this year. And with all of this in mind, I want to remind you that Council will be considering this report and its recommendations next week at Committee of the Whole, and if approved, we will be moving full steam ahead to start the request for proposal process this fall. Like everyone else, I'm eager to see what type of ideas will come forward from the private sector competing to build this important project. As they are preparing their bids, we will challenge the private sector to think about this system, how this system can be built as quickly as possible while maintaining the strict and frugal cost controls that Council and I and the taxpayers of Ottawa will expect. We will be inviting fixed price bids that harness private sector management and finance to deliver LRT on time and on budget. And ultimately, the final price tag will be known to Council and the people of Ottawa when the bids are unsealed in 2012. The City of Ottawa has come a long way on light rail, and we are one very big step closer to seeing all of our efforts finally come to fruition. This plan makes sense and carries with it a lot of benefits. This first light rail project will be the heart of a system that delivers financial stability. Now, transit systems, as you all know, are not built in a day, nor in a single increment. This project is a tremendous step forward in building a transit system for Ottawa and its people, but it is only the first step. It sets the stage for a planned future of light rail and rapid transit extensions to the east, west, and with the O-Train to the south of our city. Ce premier projet de train légère sera la cour d'un réseau qui assurerait une stabilité financière. Les réseaux de transport en commun ne se construisent pas en une seule journée, ni en une seule étape. As stewards of this city over the next 4 years, we have before us a great opportunity to get behind a project that will have benefits for our residents today and long into the future. After my remarks, I encourage you to go out into the lobby and take a look at some of the artist renditions of these stations that have been presented electronically to Council and to members of the public. The public has sent all of us a very clear signal to me, and they've certainly sent it to Council last October. Cancelling the last light rail project was in fact a costly error. Get your act together and move forward with a realistic and affordable plan, and get a shovel in the ground sooner rather than later. This plan achieves these goals, and I look forward to the public's input in the Council's debate. Together, we will help reshape our city for generations to come. Ensemble, nous allons remodeler notre ville pour des générations. Now, there will always be naysayers when it comes to city building. We saw it in 1916 when the fire destroyed the Parliament buildings, and there were those who said, we can't rebuild the same, let's just make the building functional and less expensive, a series of bland towers. We saw it in the 80s and 90s when others said, why invest in a new convention center? Let's do with what we have. Well, thank goodness the naysayers and the doubters were ignored, and we moved forward and not backwards. So my message today is really clear. It's quite simple. Let's move forward with a transit plan that we can be proud of and that we can afford. This plan puts Ottawa on the right track. Now let's get moving. Thank you very much.